Hi, everybody. Good to see you all. We will start in just a moment. I first want to finish this verse. It's so good. But I also want to take a moment to make sure that my mentorship girls know I'm going live. I hope you guys are doing well. Hello, hello. Come on in the room, get settled, get comfortable. I'm going to take a moment just to send this link out to a few more places, and then we'll go ahead and get started. If this is your first time coming to my channel, I want to say hello. Hi, I am Mambo Soleil. I am the founder of the Charm School Mentorship Program. I'm the founder of the Charm School Mentorship Program, Coven Mother of Vision of Dawn Tour, and I also do weekly readings here on this channel. As you know, I'm a dope bitch straight up out of Oakland, and I am here today just to talk a little bit about some things to consider when you're doing magic work, especially in the beginning. This is the return of a lecture series that I used to do quite often here on my channel, called the Charm School Lecture Series. And I haven't done it in almost a year. I didn't realize that until I sat down to plan this. It's been quite some time since I've come on here and given you all some free game. So I'm returning to make sure that I do that today. Again, as you come into the room, introduce yourself, say hello, just so that I know who's joining us today. And instead of holding up, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it, actually. I don't want to be on here for too long. So why am I doing this class? I have witnessed, both with clients, with students I've worked with, even just people out in the community, friends that I have, when people are new to spell work, their instinct is to do exactly what they see other people do. And a lot of times when people don't get the exact same results as another person, it's really easy to think that you're not capable of conjure, that spell work is not for you, or even worse, to think that you always have to pay someone else, right? Now, I do workings for other people, but I'm really choosy about who I do workings for. And some of you may have come to me in the past wanting me to do a working for you, and I've put the working back on you. Why? Because either your spirits or my spirits or some combination of the two have made it very, very clear that instead of me doing the working, your ashe is needed, your energy, your participation is needed. But when you don't really know what you're doing, or when there are energetic circumstances that make the work not land, or if there's just difficulty involved, you may not see results at all, or you may not see them as quickly as you desire to see them. And so I wanted to do this class, 4 Reasons Your Magic Doesn't Manifest, just to give you guys a little bit of insight and wisdom into some reasons why your magic may not always land. This will allow you to course correct. This will allow you to have better skill sets and protections when you do spiritual work, so that way you are not feeling like you're wasting your time, or like the spirits don't want to see you win, because that couldn't be further from the truth, right? Typically, it's like using a computer, right? Your computer could be fine. You could have the most recent top-of-the-line MacBook, but if you're not taking care of it, if you're not turning it on properly, if you're using the wrong functions, you're not going to get the best out of it, right? That doesn't mean that the computer is trash. That means that there's something going on that you need to, troubleshoot for. So this is just a little quick tutorial check-in about how to troubleshoot your magic. Again, I don't expect a whole lot of people to be here tonight because I usually don't go live on Tuesdays. But if you do join, make sure you say hello as you come into the room, just so that I know who's here. Um, in the words of Icon and Prophet T-Pain, talk to me, I'll talk back. Okay, so just let me know you're here. Say hello, so that way I know who I'm teaching, who I'm speaking to. Again, this is meant to be a short class, so we're not going to be on here for very long. When I sat down to write this, I initially said I was going to do 4 reasons your magic may not land. I ended up with 6. We'll see if we get to all 6. But I'm going to start with one that I think I'm going to start with the most obvious, and then I'll go into other things. So number 1, and this should be obvious if you have ever taken any classes, if you have ever worked with a professional, they will explain this to you. It's the one that, even though it's the most obvious, for a lot of reasons, people have the most struggle with. And sometimes the reason why your magic does not land is because, and it's obvious, your space isn't clean, right? There are certain spirits that just are not going to show up if your space is not clean. And when I talk about your space being clean, yes, I mean, hi, Jaleesa. I mean, in the basic, like, human context of hygiene, right? Making sure that there's no dirt on the floor, making sure that there's no clutter in areas where it shouldn't be, making sure that you have wiped down your spaces. But also, depending on the spirits that you are working with, you need to make sure that it's clean within their standards, right? Some of you guys know that I work with the Loa. There are certain Loa that are just not going to show up if your space is not clean within their standards. And if you continue to call on them and you don't have your space clean within their standards, you may actually deal with some consequences, right? But that's just a quick and dirty. If your space is dirty, your work may not land. You can have the best, most organic herbs and ingredients. You can have deep, fervent, passionate prayers, but if the space is not inviting and comfortable for the spirits to show up, they're not going to show up, right? So making sure that your space is clean and clear is deeply important, right? Now, I know some of us get busy. We don't have time to get down on the floor and scrub baseboards and do all those things that we would like to do ideally. And even if you do have time, you may not have time to do it every time you do a working. Make sure that the space in which you do your working, at least, is tidy and clean. And if you feel like time is an issue for you and you don't have support with a spouse or children, you may have to start thinking to just go ahead and budget it in to your cost monthly to have a professional cleaner come and take care of your house, right? Have them do a deep cleanse and a deep bust down, and then you make sure that you stay on top of it to keep things clean. But I'm telling you, and I know some of you guys are listening to me right now and you're going, well, duh. I know it's well, duh, but unfortunately, it's the thing that people struggle with the most. And I'm going to get into the second reason why your magic doesn't always land, and it's related to the cleanliness as well, right? So the second reason why sometimes your magic may not land or you might not see results is misaligned energy. Misaligned energy can mean multiple different things. And I'm going to talk about 2 ways in which your energy may be misaligned. First one, desperation. Sometimes people want to do magic out of desperation and anger. Your work is going to have results that you may not intend when you're doing workings from desperation and anger. I have seen some spiritualists online brag. There was a meme going around. It was like, oh, that magic hit different when you angry. Yes and no, right? We have passion when we are angry, but our judgment is also clouded, right? We're unfocused. We lack precision. And when you are dealing with spirits, you want to make sure that you are precise. You have to do divination. If you are angry or not thinking clearly, you may not hear or receive the messages that they're giving to you about the type of sacrifice you need to give in order to make the work, right? And you could potentially piss off spirits that you're trying to get favor and support from by either not giving them a sacrifice or not giving them an offering or giving them the wrong offering, right? So, as tempting as it may be from a human standpoint to channel your anger into a working, it may be best for you to take time to calm down, to make sure that you are seeing clearly. Fear is another thing. If you have fear and doubt and you're going to do a working, it may not land, right? Um, Grace and abundance cannot live in the same space as fear. You're trying to do a job working and you have doubt in the back of your mind the whole time that your resume is going to be deeply evaluated. So again, make sure that your energy is not misaligned with the intentions of the working, right? Again, I just mentioned cleanliness. If you are rushing to do a working because you're angry, you're probably going to be lax with the cleanliness. You're probably not going to take time to smoke smudge your home or do a floor wash or wipe down your altar, change the cloth on your altar, right? So again, don't let your human temptations outweigh your judgment because the cost of that is not worth it. And I'm going to be real with some of these spirits and how they feel about cleanliness. Be lucky that they just won't show up. Because if they do show up and it's dirty, or they do show up and your energy is off, the consequences of that are bigger, right? Another type of misaligned energy that can cause your work to not land or you to not see your manifestations go through. Hey, Josie, glad to see you here. Is that you could be doing work at the wrong time, right? You're trying to call in love during a waning moon. That makes no sense. You're trying to use a Mercury retrograde to call in abundance. It doesn't make any sense. So making sure that you're doing work at the right astrological time, that you're using the best days of the week, all of those things really, really matter, right? Again, you don't want the energy of the work you're trying to do to be out of alignment with your environment. And then the third way that we can deal with misaligned energy when we're trying to do a work is that you may, again, in your human mind, right? Not thinking in terms of spirit, not using your intuition, not listening to the spirits. You may think that one working is necessary, and then you're spending your time doing that working when that's not what you want, right? For example, you guys know that I do the Rich Spirit Prosperity Ritual every few months. A huge part of the reason why the ritual is 7 days, not 7 days, several days, is to give people time to get the wisdom that they need, potentially edit their petition, make adjustments. Because sometimes the things that we think we need are not what we need, right? I'll see people do all this work to call in additional streams of income or to call in abundance, but what they really need is not additional streams of income. They already have good streams. What they need is personal discipline or the wisdom to keep the streams flowing, right? They may need protection around their money and their prosperity. Not a lot of people do. You would be surprised how few people do protection work over their money. And when you don't do protection work over your money, you lose money. Unexpected debts and bills come up. People will finagle you and manipulate you out of money. All kinds of things happen, right? So again, misaligned energy could be the result or the reason why your work is not landing because you think you need one thing, but you actually need something else, right? I see this a lot when people are angry and they want to jump straight to hex work. You guys know that I don't have an issue with the left hand. I believe in the left hand. As somebody who started their spiritual journey as a hoodooism, I believe in the left and the right hand. That balance is necessary. But sometimes it's your ego and it's your wounds. It's your fearful inner child that wants you to jump to a hexing. A hexing may not be the thing that you need, right? And when you have an over response to a situation instead of being aligned with what's needed, then your work may not land, or even if it does land, the consequences of it are not. I've had people throw work at me and think that they were doing big shit just because they had me get an asthma attack or deal with ghost symptoms. And then now these people's teeth are fucked up. Now they live in squalor. Now they have venereal diseases, right? Was that worth it just to give me an asthma attack? Again, you were misaligned. You needed to be doing some forgiveness work. You needed to be doing some spiritual maturation work. You did not need to be throwing hexes just because somebody said something you didn't like, or somebody isn't talking to you, or somebody is not in agreement with the decision you make. Hexes are for big things. They are for people that actually are in danger, right? So making sure that the work you do is aligned, is in alignment with what your spirits want for you, and that it's matching your need. Our ancestors are deeply wise, and the ancestors are enough. If your ancestors really love and fuck with you, they are going to block that work that's not what you need, because they see the complications and the difficulty you're going to call into your life. So again, rather than wasting the time on doing work from ego, doing work from anger, make sure that it's in alignment with what you need. Hey, Labalin. Hey, Sanidra. Hey, Aja. So those are the first two reasons. So we talked about cleanliness. We talked about misalignment of energy. I'm going to go into, so this is one of the bonus ones, but I do think it's deeply important. I know it's important because Spirit put it on my heart. And it's also, sometimes I'll teach on something and I'll promote something and I won't even understand until years later that that's what I'm teaching. But I talk a lot about fasting, right? And fasting is something that's really important to my spiritual relationships with the spirits. I know that was a redundant way to say that. And it's helped me a lot in terms of my own spiritual maturation and growth. And when I talk about fasting, it's not just as simple as fasting from food. It's all kinds of fasting. But one of the reasons why your work may not manifest, or it may be sluggish in terms of how it comes in, is because you are too full. I mean that. You're literally too full. I have a tendency that if I know I'm going to do a working, especially if I know I'm going to spend the night or the evening doing a working, I will stop eating at a certain time of the day. And then after that, I just focus solely on hydration. Because again, making sure that you are hydrated. Water is a vessel, right? It moves energy. It is something that spirit moves through. So if I'm going to be up late at night doing a working, there's a certain point in the day where I cut off eating food. And then I just literally focus on hydrate. You guys see me make my jokes about my little hydration station that I have next to me. But even today, I got my still water and I got my glass of sparkling, right? I always have 2 to 3 types of water or drinks with me because hydration is so important to making sure that you do good spiritual work. But you can be stuffed too much with food. When we eat, our body exhausts energy through digestion. I go through all of this in my class on fasting. So if you watch the class and you feel like I'm regurgitating information, I am, because this is necessary, right? And it's important for people to know this. Your body uses a lot of energy to digest food. So if you eat a steak and potatoes, and then as soon as you're done eating that steak and potatoes, you wash your hand and you go to do a working, your body is using excess energy to break down that food. So that means that there is less energy going into your working, right? It is a good practice to make sure that you don't eat right before you do a working, because your body is automatically working at a lessened capacity because your digestive system is going, and that takes away from your energy, okay? So it is a good practice to make sure that you have some sort of intermittent fasting schedule, that you're thinking about when you consume food, and when you're thinking about that in the context of when you're going to sit down to do a working. right? Another thing, not only are you using additional energy to digest food, but what if you ate some shit that the spirits you work with don't like? Because that is a thing that can happen, right? If you're sitting down to work with spirits who don't like meat and you just ate a bacon sandwich, a bacon sandwich, a BLT, that's what they're called, right? That can lead to complications. So thinking about how you're eating, when you're eating, and making sure that you're not eating super close to when you're doing a working is really, really important, right? And again, like I said, there are days where I'll just fast completely if I know I'm going to do a lot of workings, or I'll make sure that I cut off my food consumption at a certain time. If I know I'm going to start a working at 2 a.m. at night, um, I'm probably not eating after 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. because I want to make sure that when I call in these spirits, when I'm blessing my herbs, when I'm pulling from my own ashe in order to do this working, that there are no blockages. And the last thing I want to do is be in a situation where a fucking turkey sandwich is becoming an impediment to me being able to call in something. Okay. So that's something to consider. All right. We've talked about cleanliness. We've talked about misalignment of energy. We've talked about making sure that you aren't too full and being considerate of how you eat, what you eat, and when you eat before you do a working. I have 3 more to go. Again, I know that I advertised this as 4 reasons, but y'all know me. If I'm told to do 4, I'm going to end up with more than that. So we have 6. So now that I'm at the halfway point, I'm going to go ahead and pause just to say hello to everyone again and to see if you all have any questions at this time. So if you have any questions about anything I've said so far, go ahead and put those in the comments. I'm going to take a minute just to catch up on the comments. Okay? Let's see. Let me scroll back up. Hi, Miss Renee. I'm glad that you were able to join us tonight. Let's see. Thank you, Bertal. I'm gonna go ahead and highlight that. Yes, make sure you're liking the video. If you are not already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe, especially now that I'm doing Charm School lecture series. Again, you guys aren't gonna wanna miss these conversations. Every other Tuesday, we will be doing Charm School lecture series, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna wanna be here. You're not gonna wanna miss it. So again, make sure you like the video as you come in. Hey, hi everybody. I'm just saying hi again. Josie, I wanted to hex this girl at work that was fucking with me, but I was angry. I'm glad I waited a couple of days and decided not to do that, mainly because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing anyways. That's a good reason. That's a really good reason too. We do not think clearly when we are angry. And do I want to say it? Do I want to say it, Spirit? I'm going to say it. I'm not a believer that people who have mental health issues or complications shouldn't do spiritual work. But I do believe that when you have mental health issues or complications, you need to be even more diligent, because the likelihood that trickster spirits will fuck with you because of your lessened mental capacity is higher. Okay? So these trickster spirits may pretend to be your ancestors. They may pretend to be an entity, and they will rope you into doing shit that they know that they can prey on you for later, i.e. the person who threw work at me and is now getting fucked up left and right? That's something to be mindful of. Also, you can get wrapped up in who a person is and lose sight of the strength of the spirits that work with and protect them. I'm soft-spoken for the most part. Y'all are probably like, bitch, you lying. But people experience me as soft-spoken. They experience me as kind. And we live in a society where people take kindness for weakness. And as a Taurus, I give people way too many chances as a human being. So I've had people think that it's okay to fuck with me because they're looking at me, Larissa, the human being in the world. It's a lot of shit that walks with me and that protects me. And I'll just say it that way. So even if I don't raise my hand, do you think that that's going to stop the Loa, the Orisha, um, the ancestors from doing something to you? So people got to think about consequences. This is why divination is so important. This is why you should never do a working without divination, because your spirits are going to be real with you about authorization and rank. And again, some of you guys, because you deal with mental health issues and addictions that you refuse to get control over, y'all really don't know the difference between trickster spirits and what you think are the Orisha. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in front of people where they've said, oh, well, you know, this Loa does And it's like, nigga, no, they don't. Like, that is so out of alignment with their energy and how they work. I also know for a fact that the Loa you think you're speaking to is not working with you because A, they are scarce and they don't like everybody, but B, they punish people who do the things you know what I mean? So you have to know yourself, you have to know the nature of the spirits, you have to know your own personal deficits, right? There are certain entities you can't work with if you're on your menstrual cycle. And from a human perspective, from our earthly perspective, with all the isms and things that we're taught about, that may sound like, oh my God, that's so misogynistic. If you are working with a entity or a deity that literally feeds off of iron and you're bleeding, no, you should not work with that deity on your menstrual cycle. So again, we have to be able to think logically in terms of spirit and to not get so wrapped up in our own personal desires, our own delusions, our own isms. Okay. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you had the discernment and the wisdom to slow down and realize, A, I don't fully know what I'm doing. And B, my emotions may not be matching the situation. I have seen people, and again, when there have been 2 instances where people have thrown work at me and they've actively lied to themselves and to spirit to justify why they were doing the work. So they did unauthorized work towards me. There are consequences towards doing unauthorized work. Whatever lie or delusion you tell to yourself, spirit sees through it. So yeah, if you're lying to them, I'm gonna leave it there. I feel like I've harped on that enough. But thank you, Josie. I'm really, really glad to see that you have a good head on your shoulders. And thank you for sharing that with the rest of the audience because they need to hear it. Bertal said, say it again for the ones in the back. People will never learn. There's a phrase that I heard a lot growing up in Oakland, and I say it a lot now, even though it's vulgar. When you play pussy, you get fucked. So let people play pussy and get fucked. Let them be out here thinking that they don't understand, or that they're tricking people, or that you can't lie to spirit. You cannot lie to the ancestors. If it's anybody that knows when you're lying, it's them. So when you go to them and you make up something to say, oh my God, this person did something to me, you don't think that they know that that ain't true? And if they loved you and that person had already done something to you, it would have already been taken care of. That's another reason why we shouldn't jump to spell work, because sometimes we want to do things. Ego. We want to do things and our spiritual cord is already taking care of it. So if there was threat or there was something going on, they're probably already working on it. You just want to be manipulative to spirit, and you're so arrogant, you don't even think about the consequences of it. What are you doing to your bloodline? What are you doing to the quality of your own life? Again, that's why it's important to slow down and make sure that your intentions are not misaligned, okay? I'm ready to go. When they show up and tell you, yeah, your spirits will tell you. Your spirits will tell you when you need to do work. Don't ignore them. Don't ignore them. I ignored the hunches that something was afoot because the person involved was a mentor and was allegedly responsible for my safety and well-being. I did not know that my mentor was lying to me because of his favoritism towards the person that was fucking with me. And so even though Spirit was telling me, separate yourself, get some distance, I wasn't listening. And your spirits will let you deal with minor consequences to teach you a lesson sometimes if you are being hard-headed, right? But yeah, your spirits will tell you if you have a relationship, if you're listening, if your intuition is alignment and you're obedient, they will tell you. They will absolutely tell you. All right, let's get into the last three. Let's go ahead and get into the last three. We talked about misaligned energy, but lack of clarity or specific intention is just as chaotic as a misaligned energy. Okay? What do I mean by lack of clarity or specific intention? I'm gonna bring up Rich Spirit again. I'm not doing this on purpose, but Rich Spirit it's my baby, right? And it means a lot to me. A lot of times when it's people's first time doing Rich Spirit, they'll do this. It's like they're still dealing with their baggage and their dogma and programming from the Christian church, and they're afraid to ask for specificities because they fear that that's going to make them look greedy, right? So people will do things like say, I want an increase in abundance, or I want a new job, right? That's not clear. Though that's very, very vague. Saying I want an increase in abundance is a lot different than saying I want to earn $5,000 a week from my business that I just started, right? Or saying I have $100,000 of student loan debt. I want my debt to melt away within the next year, right? I want to be approved for student loan forgiveness. You have to be specific with Spirit. The same way that in your conversations and in your personal relationships, lack of clarity means that you don't get what you want. It means you don't get results. This is a relationship. When we are working with Spirit, we are fostering a relationship. And so specificity is key. And again, the Christian church has taught us that we're not allowed to pray for specific things. This is one of, and here's the thing, I still identify as a Christian, even though I'm a Hoodooism and a Vodooism. I work with Jesus. I work with the saints, right? So I will never talk, I will be critical of the colonization of Christianity, but for me, that's different than being critical of Christianity. Why is Soleil bringing this up? Colonizers did not want us to be specific when talking to God, because then they have to deal with the consequences of the ways in which they are violating God. So a lot of Christian dogma and colonization is to program you and gaslight you into believing that you're doing something wrong by being specific when you talk to God, by being specific when you talk to the saints, by being specific when you ask the angels for specific things. That is not true. Hi, Codan. I need to reach out to you. You've been on my heart so much. I need to like actually talk to you on the phone soon. But yes, you got to be specific. So the same way, if you are dating somebody, right? Some of us may have gone through this before, especially when we were in our early 20s and we didn't know any better. When we are like, oh, I just want to be chill. I'm the cool girl. I'm cool. I don't need that much. I don't want that much. You know, just be nice to me. Everybody got different definitions of nice. You got to be specific. The same way that you have to be specific with your friendships, with your parents, you have to set clear boundaries, you have to make specific requests. You have to do that with Spirit. So saying, I want more abundance, they can bring you an abundance of pennies. What are you going to do with that, right? You have to be clear about your intentions, which again, going back to alignment, this is why it's important to sit down, calm down, do your divinations, journal, write out, be clear about what you want and what you need so that you can ask for it with unshakable clarity. Because a lot of the times the reason why your spell work is not landing is because your intentions are unclear. Your intentions are unclear. You're not asking for specific things, right? There's a big difference between saying, oh, I want protection. I just want protection. Cover me. And there's that, and they're saying, God, please rip the tongue of my enemies out anytime they speak ill of me. Anybody who spreads gossip about me, may they be met with famine and deficit. Right? That's much more specific. You have to be specific. And if you are not specific, you are going to either get no results or unclear results, right? I went through this with a client who did not want me to do a working for them. They were cutting corners. They were being cheap, which I don't judge people for. I don't argue with people over money. I believe that I'm going to be taken care of. It is what it is. So this person, instead of paying me to do a working, wanted to book a conjure consultation. And the conjure consultations are to discuss doing a working. But then they wanted to manipulate the conjure consultation into a tutoring session. And because I was on my shits and giggle shit that day, I just let it happen, right? This person refused to get specific about what they needed. They refused to get specific about what they needed. And they were hyper general. And I explained to them the same thing I'm saying to you now. Spirits don't work that way. That is dogma and misinformation that we were fed through the Christian church. You have to be specific. They did not listen. So when they did their abundance work, when they did their prosperity work, they did not ask for anything specific. And so what they needed was several $1,000s to take care of an issue. The spirits gave them a couple of $100. Now, when they came back to me crying because they were not able to meet their financial need, I pointed out to them where they failed, right? I low-key begged you to be as specific as possible. I told you to write that number down. Anybody who's gotten work from me or who's taken classes with me have heard me say this phrase. I say it all the time because I heard it a lot growing up. If you need $5, don't ask for 3, ask for 10. If you need $5, don't ask for 3, ask for 10. This person didn't even ask for $3. They just were like, give me money. Okay, so the spirit gave them a little bit of sprinkle when what they needed was a windfall. They needed a rainfall, right? Ask for what you need. Be specific. When you lack clarity, you will get unclear results. And you can blame it on the ancestors. You can blame it on the person that taught you. You can blame it on the weather. You can blame it on whatever you want. But closed mouths don't get fed. If you don't ask for the thing, you won't get the thing. And it's one thing to get it late. It's one thing to get it slower than what we wanted. But if you are not asking for what you want and your needs are not being met, that is no one's fault but your own. So get specific. Get clear about your intentions. Another reason why we don't do desperation magic. If you're desperate and you're fearful because you have something weighing on your shoulders, calm down, sleep on it, come back with a clear head, okay? We have 2 more. Second to last reason why your magic may not be manifesting, why you may not be getting results from your rituals, from your conjure, from your prayers is, I'm going to go ahead and highlight that, Lovana, if that's okay. Unhealed emotional or energetic blockages. Unhealed emotional or energetic blockages. When you as a practitioner are carrying deep fear and wounds, when you're walking around with resentment or conflicting desires, that will jam up your work. That will cause blockages. Your blockages will bleed over into the work. That is just the reality. That is part of the reason why I talk about shadow work so much. That is part of the reason why I talk about the necessity of self-reflections. I know y'all are tired of hearing me talk about Chiron retrograde. Guess what? I don't give a fuck. I know y'all are thinking if this bitch bring up Neptune retrograde again, I'm going to hit a wall. Go ahead and bang your head on the wall. Go ahead. Go ahead and get that knot because I'm not going to shut up. Reflection and shadow work, personal awareness are a necessity to making sure that your spell work hits. Because whatever undealt with blockages you have, they're going to spill into your working. I talk a lot about financial trauma recovery. Why do you think I talk about financial trauma recovery? I had to learn as a baby practitioner that my scarcity mindset and my financial wounds, being a survivor of financial abuse, was making it hard for me to do good prosperity work. Guess what? When I started interrogating those wounds and doing the things that I needed to do to heal them, I started seeing movement, which is why I went from struggling and working 2 jobs to having the funds and the opportunity to move across country and start my own fucking business. That would not have happened had I not done my shadow work. That would not have happened had I not engaged in personal reflection and been honest with myself about my humanity and recognize that I have wounds. Here's the thing, even the most privileged of us have wounds. We have blockages, we have blind spots. So to be so arrogant that you think that you can ask for something without acknowledging the blockages you have, that's ignorant and it's a waste of time. All you are going to do is jam up your spell work. Sometimes shadow work, cleansing, ancestral healing needs to happen before a ritual can take root. That's just the reality of the situation. If you're not doing your cleanses, if you're not in alignment with your Ori, if you are not doing work to honor and have good relationship with your B'tselem, you're going to have difficulty. You're going to have difficulty. So make sure that you are engaging with yourself so that you are aware of your unhealed. Because here's the thing, it's not as simple as solving it. Sometimes you may not solve your blockages overnight. But even having the capacity to know that they are there so that you can incorporate that into your prayer and petition and even ask that's what repentance is. Repentance is understanding your deficits and where you fall short and asking God to work with you in spite of them while making the commitment to do better. If you don't even have an awareness of your blockages or your unhealed wounds, how can you ask spirit to support you in removing them so that you don't have that jammed up space? Sometimes it's not spell work you need, it's shadow work. Amen. Aye, Bobo. Absolutely, Kodan. Well, Bilolo, because today is Mount Taurus Day. Bilolo, that is true. That is deeply true. This is why you can do a bunch of love workings, and you may get people that come to you and want to fuck you or want to hold up your time. A lot of what people are doing and calling love work is actually limerence and lust work masquerading as love work. Sometimes all you got to do is just do the shadow work, and then you will end up getting the love that you want. Do the shadow work. It may save you from even having to do the spell work in the first place. But if you don't do the shadow work and you don't know your deficits, you don't know your blockages, it definitely is going to slow down or fuck up your spell work. Okay? And then the last one, this is the last one for tonight. And it's another one that people seem to struggle with, but it means a lot. It's super important. Sometimes your spell work you're not going to see any results because you neglect the physical follow through. If you neglect the physical follow through, then of course you're not going to see results. You're sitting here doing prosperity work to saying that you want new streams of income, and you're not applying for jobs. You're not promoting your business. You're not networking. You aren't even up to date on what the streams of income related to your field are because you haven't done any research to keep yourself up to date and keep yourself aware of what's out there. Faith without work is dead. Faith without works is dead. Again, these things make sense, and you don't want to reject them just because they come from the Bible. Faith without works is dead. There's truth to that. We know it logically. So why is it that we somehow forget about that when it comes to conjure? If you are calling in love and you are doing work to attract a partner, and then you don't take your knuckle dragging ass outside, or if people flirt with you you seize up and you run away, you are neglecting the follow through. How can anybody love on you or date you if they don't know that you exist? You gotta go places, you gotta talk to people, you gotta flirt a little bit. But no, love is not gonna find you at home in front of your TV binging Netflix. You got to go outside. You got to talk to people. You got to put your self in the spaces where people are doing the things that you want to do with a partner. You daydream about going hiking with your partner, go hiking more often, join a hiking club, right? But faith without work is dead. If you are neglecting the physical follow through for whatever it is you've done the spell work for, of course you are not going to see any results. Okay? There's no point in you doing a working and not following through on it. You are doing a working for health and vitality, and then you eat Cheetos every day. You're doing a working for health and vitality, and your lips ain't seen water in 3 days. You can guzzle down a Pepsi. You can chug down some coffee. If somebody pull up a bottle of liquor, you the first one with your shot glass. But why aren't you drinking water? Where are your vegetables? Have you seen the vitamin? Like the faith without work is dead. If you are doing spell work and you don't do anything with the physical follow through, all you're doing is putting on a performance. All you're doing is wasting resources. You're wasting herbs. You're wasting candles. You're wasting fruit and vegetables for lamps. It doesn't, don't waste oil. Oil is expensive. Oil is expensive. I just went to go buy some avocado oil and I low key wanted to throw something. Why has avocado oil gone up almost $4 in less than 2 months? Makes no sense. But these things are expensive. So don't waste your resources or your time if you're not going to do the follow through. The prosperity working is great. Yes, it will create what ritual does, what spell work does is speed up the conditions. It helps spirit to move. But you have to do the things. So no, your love work is not going to work if you don't go outside and you don't talk to people. No, your prosperity working is not going to work if you don't make investments, if you don't apply to jobs, if you don't take advantage of opportunities, if you don't promote your business. Your prosperity work is not going to land because you're not following up with the physical follow through. You're not. You are doing work on your Ori, you're doing third eye work, you're doing all this work to be tapped in, and then you binge social media all day. You're doing cleanses, but then you're sitting around and listening to low vibrational music all the time. It doesn't matter how many workings you do to elevate or to raise your vibration if all of your actions around it and your space and the energetics support low vibrational bullshit. So again, if you're gonna do the work, if you're gonna do the ritual, if you're gonna do the spell work, if you're gonna construct the prayers, if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna write the incantations, make sure you have some sort of follow through. Because incantations and prayer without follow through is just you running your mouth. You doing a spell work, a working without follow through is just you putting on a performance. It's you doing things because it looks pretty. And we're not here for the pretty, we're here for progress. Okay? So those are the 4, which turned into 6, reasons why your magic may not be manifesting. I hope that this class was helpful. I hope it benefited whomever needs it. Make sure you go ahead and save this video in case you need to return to it. And also don't hesitate to share it with the people who need it. You may know somebody in your life. Don't be shady about it, but if you know somebody in your life that's doing workings and they're not seeing results, share this video with them. You know, let them get this wisdom, because I think sometimes people don't know. they forget that we are the magic as well. So yes, you're doing things to call in energy and to create a container to see things go and move forward. But if you don't do certain things that you need to do, what's the point, right? So again, I hope that this was helpful. I will be back on Thursday for happy hour because we still got to talk about that crazy woman that fell in love with her therapist. And we got to talk about parasocial relationships in general on Thursday. So make sure you're back on Thursday, 8 p.m. EST. Bring yourself a little wine or a little cocktail so that we can turn up together and we can shoot the shit and I can do some readings on pop culture together, okay? I'm looking forward to seeing y'all Thursday. Again, the Patreon exclusive classes are all up on my Patreon. Before the week is over, I will be doing more sign specific readings on the Patreon. But right now, the full moon, new moon, and Chiron retrograde readings based off of based off of your sign, your astrological sign, are all up on Patreon now, in addition to the class about transmuting gossip into abundance. So check out my Patreon link below, and make sure that you register for that so that way you can get some classes and some information to help you along your journey. I've postponed enrollment for Charm School. It was supposed to end next week. I want to thank those of you who have reminded me. I've been kid-free for almost 2 years now, so I forget about back to school season. So the deadline for Charm School is going to be September 15th instead of August 20th. I will also be doing an informational or a Q&A next Tuesday so that if you guys have questions about my mentorship program, they can get answered. I believe that's everything for now. Ancestral Life Path readings are on sale. That's the only reading that I currently have on sale. But don't hold back from getting anything that you need. Chiron is still in retrograde. Neptune is still in retrograde. Pluto is still in retrograde. Saturn is still in retrograde. So if you have not gotten a natal chart reading in a long time, now would be a good time to get one. Shadow work consultations are also a good idea. SoleilConjureShop.com to book with me. And that's everything for now. I will see you all Thursday, 8 p.m. EST. Take care. Bye.